Dan Dickow here for the Bulldog broadcast on the Field of 68 Media Network. Big time thank you to our sponsors, Denena Family Law and Associates, Cooney's Tie, ICCU, and McGillivray Environmental. Appreciate their support. Hopefully you supported them if possible over the Christmas holidays with gift cards, especially for Cooney's Tie. Or any other services and needs that you might need in the area. But let's just jump right into it. Gonzaga is sitting at 16-1 now. Um, Although the last two, the last four games with the start league where they sit 4-0, they've had about a 2.5 game stretch where things were kind of interesting, or maybe not up to what a lot of fans' expectations are. But I tell you what, I like the resolve. I like the response. I like the way they fought through and battled a couple of different sections of adversity. You look at that USD game that we haven't talked about just because we took a little bit of a break with the holidays. You look at the USD game, they were in control, they were cruising. Graham Ike, though, did kind of lose his composure. Whistle for a technical foul, got taken out of his normal, typical type production, which we've seen happen on a number of occasions now over the last 3 years. But the pressure that USD put on in the final few minutes to cut a double-digit lead to be extremely close is something that I think you're going to see a few other teams that at least have the personnel consider doing at Gonzaga. You get through that win, you get home for your first matchup against Seattle U as a member of the WCC, again to a McCarthy Athletic crowd that doesn't have fans because the students are gone, and not a great start. Seattle U jumped out really well early. Gonzaga was down double digits in the first half. Gonzaga was down double digits in the second half. Gonzaga had to fight back to force overtime before ultimately prevailing after Tyon Grant Foster really came through on a number of occasions on the defensive end of the floor. 19 points, but 5 block shots from a perimeter. I can't even remember the last time a Gonzaga big, let alone a perimeter, had 5 blocks. I would imagine Chet Holmgren had 5 blocks on at least one occasion. But we're talking about a perimeter defender, stays in front, is able to challenge jump shots, but then have the timing to be able to block the shot was pretty impressive. But really wanted to talk about kind of what's up next on the schedule, as well as what's fresh in fans' minds after that LMU game, where a little bit of the doldrums after the end of the San Diego and throughout the Seattle U game hung on but for about the first 5-6 minutes against Loyola Marymount, where Loyola was able to jump out to a 10-2 run. Gonzaga was 3-point happy at the start. I think they missed 5 threes in about that first 5.5, 6 minutes. I know Steele Venters took, I believe, 4. Fogel, who got his first start, I believe, took one as well. Graham Ike took a couple in that first half where he's obviously earned the right to take threes. He knocked down a number of them against Creighton earlier this year, but the way
the world's leading immersive basketball training experience that combines in-person skill development with digital gamification and virtual competition. At Shoot 360, you will train with our coaches, measure your skills with our proprietary technology, and track your progress on the Shoot 360 mobile app. Shoot 360 Spokane. Unlock your game.
That Loyola Marymount game planned was daring Gonzaga's bigs, in particular Ike, to shoot from beyond the arc. If he caught it on a trail, if he caught it in pick and roll on a pop, they sent their big defender middle of the paint. I mean, they were sitting at the restricted circle many times on those catches, just daring EK to shoot. And, he fell for it a number of times, but once Gonzaga really kind of got into their flow offensively, which was a result of their defense, honestly, the offense started clicking and they were able to overcome that 10-2 run in no time. But the big thing about that game that I saw was continued production from the bench, and the versatility that this team has on the wings in particular is impressive. Venters and Fogel gets the start against Loyola Marymount. Fogel's first start didn't play great, but again, he's going to look different with that starting group than he is when he's playing at the end, which is typically garbage time, and people got accustomed to him scoring nearly a point a minute. I mean, you're not going to do that over the course of a season, especially when you're on a good team like this and you're starting to earn and have the opportunity to play minutes in meaningful moments of the game. But it'll come for him. That'll be a learning experience, and I'm sure he'll improve upon, understanding of where his shots are going to come with different units out on the floor. But, EK had 16 and 7. Mentioned Warley was tremendous, 12 points, 7 rebounds, I believe 5 assists. Mario St. Superi was great, 13 points, 5 assists with a couple tremendous passes. Looked to be back to himself the way he was looking early in the season. And that really bodes well for Gonzaga because, he was struggling a little bit. They bring Braden Smith in. After Braden Smith starts playing well, Superi had another game or two where he struggled a bit, and now he's looking to be back to full confidence, fully healthy after reportedly having the flu for a few days there. So Gonzaga gets, a two-headed point guard attack that you don't know which one's going to provide the spark that night. But then Tyon Grant Foster, I thought, was really good again against Loyola Marymount. Not forcing the issue, but, really making an impact both areas of the floor. The one interesting one, though, was Braden Huff, only 8 points after really being dominant as of late. But here's the thing: if your quiet nights are 8, and you're not hurting the game, the team, then things are moving in the right direction. Because I think when you look at it, Huff and EK, they might be the best front court, at least scoring wise, in the country. Now, defensively and on the glass particularly for Huff, yeah, there's still some things that you would like to see happen. But you pretty much know night in and night out what you're going to get. With both of those. Huff was leading the league in scoring at nearly 19 a game before 8. I'm not sure if he's still leading the league now, but EK averaging right around 17. So those are your constants. You know what you're getting there. But with the versatility defensively, you saw it after that 5-minute mark when the substitutes came in. They turned it up the heat, and after that, it was just a defensive clinic for Gonzaga. Total for the game, Gonzaga forced Loyola Marymount to shoot 30% from the field. I read a stat where it was 0.68 points per game. One of the best numbers Gonzaga's ever put up as far as that category. And what I mean by that is, so if there were 100 possessions in the game with that 0.68 number, Loyola Marymount would score 68 points. That is tremendous defense. Your goal typically defensively, if you're a good defensive team, would be, around the 0.85 mark. And then if you want to look at it on the offensive end, anything over about 1.1 is pretty good. Some of Gonzaga's best teams in years past have been over 1.2 points per possession. I think this year right now, and this is a lot of where Ken Palm gets his analytic numbers for offensive efficiency. You're looking at, I believe, 7th offensive ranked team in the country, right around 1.21 points per game, I think is where Gonzaga is sitting at right now. But in overall, great performance defensively, and it led to easy opportunities offensively on the other end of the floor. I thought Adam Miller stepped up, played really well. He's starting to knock down shots. He sprained his ankle a little bit, then he was sick, I guess, but he looked really good. But the things that I liked coming out of that game is the response after the first 5 minutes. You're going to see different teams come up with different uh, game plans on how they want to attack Gonzaga, right? You saw the pressure at the end of the game from USD that made things interesting. Then Seattle U came with the big time double teams on the bigs. And they might have had the best post doubles I've seen all year against Gonzaga. They came from different angles. They came sometimes guard to big. Sometimes it was big and big on the double, but they came connected at the shoulders, didn't give any ability to split that double, and they came with high hands, so you couldn't easily make that pass. And then against Loyola Marymount, what you saw was changing defenses. Gonzaga had to face three-quarter court pressure. They had to face normal half court man-to-man with switching. They had to face a couple different zone looks, 2-3, and then I think they were looked at a 1-2-2 on a couple occasions. But Gonzaga handled it extremely well. And I think that's one of the things that you might see a few teams do here in league is junk things up just a little bit, to kind of put a stop sign, so to speak, on Gonzaga's offense. Big thank you to one of our sponsors, Cooney's Thai. My family and I live on the north side of Spokane, and we absolutely going to Cooney's Thai, whether it is in person, whether it's takeout. The food is always phenomenal, as authentic of Thai food as I have ever had throughout my travels across this country. Unbelievable service, unbelievable price, unbelievable people that are involved with Cooney's Thai. Whether it's the pad Thai, whether it's the pad CU, whether it's one of their awesome curries, you will be thankful that they took great care of you. Again, Cooney's Thai on the north side. Check them out online today, cooniesthai.com. Whether you want to sit in the restaurant and you have tremendous service or order for takeout, it will be piping hot and ready for you when you show up. Thanks again to Cooney's Thai. McGillivray Environmental can handle any of your construction needs, specializing in new construction, repairs, residential and commercial asphalt paving, excavation, environmental mediation, and hazardous waste. Reach out to Kip McGillivray at McGillivray Environmental today at 208-556-6384 for your free estimate. Bulldog fans, we know basketball is all about teamwork, hustle, and having someone you can trust in the clutch. Life isn't much different. When challenges come your way, especially family matters, you need a strong team by your side. That's where Danetta and Associates step in. They're more than just a family law firm. They're your advocates, guiding you through the hard fouls life throws your way with skill and care. In Spokane and beyond, Danetta and Associates are ready to fight for what matters most, your family. Call 509-325-0125 or visit padlawoffice.com to learn more. That's padlawoffice.com to learn more. That's one of the things that I've always said as a player and as an analyst is, changing your defenses will make the other team think a little bit. And if you have to pause and slow down and think, that becomes almost like a yellow flashing light or a stop sign trying to figure out what it is. And then maybe you take too much time or more time than necessary or normal to get into your offense. And then all of a sudden you start playing against the shot clock. And so I think you got to prepare for that. And I think when you look at what's coming next for Gonzaga, these next 3 games, it's another big time opportunity, to kind of distance themselves. And I would imagine St. Mary's does the same to be the top 2 teams in the WCC as you hit about the halfway point after these next 3 games or so, because you got home against Santa Clara. And you remember last year, Santa Clara came in, beat Gonzaga 103-99. I believe they had 18 made threes against Gonzaga. They're a team again this year that shoots it really well from beyond the 3-point line. I believe about 39% on the year, right around 10 made threes per game. They've got good size. They're well coached. I would imagine they come in and, have a game plan that makes Gonzaga think, that makes Gonzaga work. And Santa Clara is a team that I think is the 3rd best team in the WCC. I think that they've been knocking on the door of being considered for the NCAA tournament over the last few years, but a couple bad losses and a couple injuries have kind of taken them out of that picture the last few years. If they can finish top 3 in the WCC, and have a great showing in the West Coast Conference tournament without any of those really bad losses. I think, based on where their net and their Ken Palm is right now, I think that it will continue to creep up a little bit, and they should at least be in the conversation. After Santa Clara, Gonzaga heads on the road, just down an hour and a half south to Pullman, where they play Washington State for the first time this year. Washington State's an interesting team. They've struggled. I think they're a better team than their record shows. They've lost a couple close games, but when you look at their attack, they've been a 3-point heavy team under Coach David Riley, but it's a completely new team than what they had a season ago. They're led by a freshman point guard who this will be, his first time going up against Gonzaga. I know he initially committed to Texas A&M, but he wasn't quite ready to, or with the coaching change, he wasn't ready to fully commit, and that's when David Riley picked him up at Washington State. So he's a really good point guard, leads them in scoring and assists, but then they've also got some other good shooters, Vavers and Thrasterson on the wing, in particular, guys that can knock it down, whether as wings or in pick and pop situations. And then they'll return the game with Seattle U at Seattle next Saturday as well. So really big week and a half coming up here for Gonzaga. You're sitting at 16-1, 4-0 in the West Coast Conference. You get a little bit of a break after this next game against Santa Clara on Thursday. You got a full 1 week off where you can get healthy, you can prepare, you can add a few new wrinkles to what you want to do on each end of the floor. So Gonzaga looking like they're in the meat of the WCC while they're ranked 8th in the country. That was the other thing I wanted to touch on is Gonzaga didn't move up in the rankings, which is what they've gradually been doing throughout this season. They actually moved down without having lost a game. Houston leapfrogs them in both the coaches poll and the AP poll to move to 7. Gonzaga at 8 in each of those. I think at this point of the season, it's not that big of a deal. I think when you look at the analytics, Ken Palm has them. I checked after the game against Loyola Marymount the other day, sitting at 7. I think net has Gonzaga at 4. Here's the thing. There's about 8 to 10 teams that have legitimate Final Four aspirations that are possible, and Gonzaga is one of them right now. I think what you see here is if Gonzaga can get through this next 3 weeks or so, and then you get that first St. Mary's matchup, you get that first San Francisco matchup in as well. I think if they get through that undefeated in league, I think you're going to start hearing people talking about Gonzaga running the table in the WCC, which would lead them into the NCAA tournament with only 1 loss going in, which would be, one of those things where that pressure mounts. So all in all, Gonzaga trending in the right direction. I know some fans were concerned with the performances over the last 3 games, but to be honest, you have to expect that at different points in the league season because teams know each other so well. You're now going into opposing environments. Teams that are going to give Gonzaga their best shot. So thanks for listening to the Bulldog broadcast on the Field of 68 Media Network. Don't forget to support our sponsors. And next week, we should have a guest here on the Bulldog broadcast.